I've been on my language learning journey now since the beginning of January when I started trying to learn Spanish using an app called Link. My first book that I read in Spanish was a Jack Reacher book, which would normally take me about 2 days or so to read, and it took me 27 days, almost a month. And by the end of the month, I recognized over 2,600 words in Spanish, so I thought that was pretty good progress. It's now been 2 months since that video, and in that time, I've more or less doubled my vocabulary, so I recognize over 5,300 words, which obviously is not, you know, the first month times three, which makes sense because I probably encountered all of the most common words pretty quickly. And I've also, for various reasons, been spending less time, although I have been reading daily in Spanish. And I also have only been reading. I haven't been doing any classes. I haven't been doing any audio. I haven't been reading any grammar. I haven't opened a Spanish English dictionary a single time. Just reading just for pleasure and enjoying it. Um, I can understand a lot of sentences completely without any translation or any help needed, but every day, many times, I still run into words that I have no idea what they mean and have to, click on them to see what they mean. And there are also words, just like in English, where even if you know all the words, the sentence doesn't make any sense because it's a Spanish way of saying things that we don't have in English. So overall, I know it's going to take a lot of months to get good. I think I was probably a bit over enthusiastic in my last video when I said I'd be fluent in 6 months, but I mean, it's possible, but it's been 3. And if you want to consider B2 as fluent, then maybe I can get there, at least from a vocabulary perspective, but I know it would still take me quite a bit of work to get where I needed to be with listening and speaking, because that's a separate skill. I have listened to some Spanish podcasts, not a whole lot, probably a total of less than an hour in the last, or less than 2 hours in the last 3 months combined. And I'm able to understand bits and pieces, but not enough to follow everything. I mentioned in my last video that I was spending some time every day on 4 languages in Link. I was doing Spanish, Japanese, Croatian, and Esperanto. Well, I've dropped Japanese for now, and I've dropped Croatian probably permanently. It's for various reasons. I originally did want to learn Japanese. That's how I got in this whole language learning journey in the first place, but we'll get back to that. But overall, it's just way too much time and effort and splitting of effort. I don't know how much it would have hurt me from the perspective of getting confused among the languages. That was not my major issue. My major issue was just time. And actually, what I've turned out to do is I have picked up my Esperanto a lot more, to the point where I'm doing it more than Spanish, at least a lot of days. And I'm really getting into it. In fact, I'm considering dropping Spanish for now and just concentrating on Esperanto for the rest of 2026. So we'll see how that goes, but it's something that I'm interested in. It's a constructed language, so it's based on like a logical set of rules. So with any natural language like Spanish, you just have to keep learning and reading and learning a bunch of words, because there are, hundreds of thousands of words. But in Esperanto, there are far fewer words. And once you know a little bit about the grammar, particularly the affixes, those are prefixes and suffixes, you're able to understand a whole lot of words with fairly small amount of vocabulary, which is pretty cool. And that feels like a major accomplishment, and it is a pretty cool language. So I said in my original video that the original goal was to learn Japanese, and I ended up finding it too difficult. And I had never learned a language before, so I was not good at learning languages. I don't know if I'm good at learning languages now. I'll tell you after I learn one or two. But I decided to learn Spanish because it would be the easiest one for me based on the country I live in and the state that I live in. Spanish is just widely available. And so it'd be easier. Well, now I think Esperanto is easier just because it's so much of a simpler language. And one cool thing about Esperanto is it also has a built-in community. Like if I started speaking Spanish, that wouldn't make me a part of anything. That would be convenient if I ran into somebody at the grocery store or, somewhere out in public and I was able to have a conversation. That would be cool. But Esperanto has its own magazine. They have an annual get together at some cool place around the world in some city. And strangers will let you into their homes just because you speak Esperanto. If you speak Esperanto, you can find an Esperanto community in many, many countries. And if you need a place to stay for the night, someone might even just let you sleep on their couch, that doesn't exist with any other language that I'm aware of. And it makes it really cool. It makes it like getting to be a member of a secret club. And on the flip side, it is also one of the least spoken languages in the world, which makes it also sort of like a secret code. If only you and maybe family or friends know it, then that could be your secret language. You're out in public, and if I spoke Spanish to somebody, there's a very good chance someone is going to overhear it and know what I said. But with Esperanto, it's private. And if you're the only one that you know that knows it, you can keep your journal in Esperanto, and it would be completely secure, pretty much. Like I know there are LLMs and people can do translation tools, but for the most part, especially if your handwriting's not that great, that's like a secret code, which I think is pretty cool. And that leads me to the last thing that I wanted to really talk about language learning, and is that I have come to the conclusion that learning a language is very personal and very lonely. And the reason is that it takes a lot of time to do, and it's something you have to do alone. You can't do it with a friend or in a group because you don't all know the same words. You don't learn the same words in the same order. You're not interested in the same learning material. You don't all learn at the same speed. And no two people, even if they start at the exact same point, can be exactly at the same place in the language. And you have to spend a lot of time just taking in the language, listening and reading. And so it's very lonely. There are communities, there are online communities you can join where you can go into chat rooms, you can talk about stuff, but it seems like most of what people want to talk about is what they're going to do or what they want to do or what they plan to do, rather than what they have actually done or accomplished, or argue with one another about the best way to do these things. And that's just not interesting to me. So I've come to the conclusion that learning a language is something that you should just do and not talk about. It's like, I'm going to write a novel, or I'm going to start a company. I'm going to make this product. Everyone says those things, and usually they don't follow through, and people around you are not really that interested in it, and you might as well just not waste your time and breath. It's pretty much all hot air. I had originally intended to do a video every month, and I have learned, probably the thing I've learned the most, is that learning a language takes a long time, like a long, long time, like years. So a monthly video is a waste. The progress is not going to necessarily be noticeable or dramatic enough to be worth doing an entire video. So I will put them up when I put them up, just to let you know that I have not given up on my journey the same way that people give up on novels and starting companies. So until I can start doing videos in another language, I probably will not be putting them out on any sort of regular schedule, but that's what it is. Anyway, my advice, go buy a book in a foreign language and teach yourself how to read it.